Hi Rangers, my name is Mrs. Sly and I'm one of the school counselors here at Chisholm. I wanted to share a few tips and tools with you today on having a strong senior year and then moving successfully into the next part of your life. While there'll be some tips in this presentation that are specific to college, I want to make sure that you understand that most of what we're sharing here is going to be relevant to you no matter what your choices are for after high school. So as you look at this list of common stressors for high school seniors, I don't think anything on here is going to surprise you. If you haven't personally dealt with some of the issues on here, you probably know someone who has. Um, Also, we'll say that while this list is probably any given year, I definitely have had students dealing with all of these issues on this list. This year in particular, because of everything that's going on in our country, some of these issues are hitting us a lot harder than normal. Particularly if you think about with COVID and all of the things we're having to do to stay safe, which involve seeing people less, going out less, all of those things can lead us to have a little less connection than we normally do, a little more isolation, and those things can be stressful. So while this list, any given year, this list is valid, I think some of these are hitting us a little harder than normal this year. So just like there are some types of stressors that are common while we're in high school, there are also some things that will be more common as you leave high school. It might be that you're living away from home for the first time, learning how to manage a lot of new responsibilities. That can be a stressor. It can be exciting, but it can be a stressor. It may mean that you have lost some of your friend group or your support system. So if you've gone away to college or you've joined the military, you may not have that same social circle that you've had throughout your time in high school. It could be that you're adjusting to the rigor of college and the level of independent work that is a lot different than high school. You may be worried about money. That can be something that's a new stressor for you. And then we also have the fact that you may be dealing with some pre-existing mental health issues, and that can make your whole experience of becoming independent a little different. So while some of these things on the list are the result of very exciting things like you going to college or joining the military or going off and living on your own for the first time, they can also be stressful. And so that's what we want to talk a little bit about today. It's just really helping you learn ways to cope with these stressors that sometimes are the result of hard things, but sometimes they're the result of good and happy things, but they can still impact us. So we want to learn how to work through those. So we included this slide and it's titled The Top Mental Health Challenges Facing College Students. And the reason for that is because it comes out of a study that was done with college students. But honestly, whether you're in college or you're working or you're in the military, whatever you're doing, you're the same person. So it's really more common mental health challenges for college age students would be how I kind of think about this. And as you look through this, these statistics, again, probably will not surprise you. These are the same issues that our students are dealing with as high school students. The reason I include it is not to be, doom and gloom. We have so many kids dealing with things, and we do, but it's to more normalize that this is what's going on for a lot of people, so that if you find yourself struggling with one of these issues, or if you have a friend struggling with one of these issues, we don't want you to feel alone, because when people feel alone, they don't tend to reach out. But when people understand that there are others going through the same things they are, they usually feel more comfortable to reach out and get help. So that's really the point of this slide, to say, if you or someone you know is dealing with one of these serious mental health issues, you're not alone and you can get help and support. So if you are dealing with a mental health issue and you're planning to go away to college, there are a few things that could be helpful for you to think about as you're making plans for where you want to go, to make sure that you have the best chance to manage your mental health issues successfully. For example, when you're choosing a college, think about some of these things. Would living at home and commuting be a better transition for you? For some kids, it would be. For some kids, going away and having to live with strangers might be very stressful. But for others, maybe being at home is a stressor. So none of these are like a right or a wrong. It's just things to consider. So, whether you live at the college or you live at home, that's a big consideration for you. You might also think about that while smaller schools have more of a community feel and can be more comfortable, do they have the resources you need if you already have a mental health issue that you're trying to manage when you go off to school? So you want to think about that piece and make sure they have the resources. Would living in a dorm with a roommate be really good for you? Keep you connected, or would it be super stressful? So that's another consideration. And making sure you can find a counselor if ongoing therapy is part of how you manage your mental health condition. Making sure the community you're moving to will have a good counselor there available for you. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is that if you receive services, either accommodations or other types of support through the 504 program or through special education, then there are ways to get some of those same things at college. You're not going to typically get everything you might have received at high school, but there is a disability resource center on each college, and you can talk to them. And it's a good idea to take your final 504 plan or your final ARD paperwork with you, and then you can see the type of support they may be able to give you while you're at college. So now I want to share a few tips with you about maintaining your wellness now and later. There will be a few that are specific to college or a few that are specific to when you leave high school. But in general, these tips are going to be things that you can start using right now if you're not already using them. The first one is if you do go away to college, or you do join the military, or you do decide to move away after you finish high school, try to kind of have a balance between staying in contact with your support system at home, your friends, your family, the people that care about you and support you, while also reaching out and making some new connections wherever you are. If you're at college, that might look like joining a club or an organization if you have time, but wherever you end up, make sure that you hold on to those healthy relationships that you have at home, but also make an effort to make some new connections. Also, if you already have a physical or a mental health issue, be sure you're taking the time to monitor that. Do the things that you need to do for whatever that condition is, but think about it, be aware of it as you move and transition out into the world. Keep your body healthy. A big part of your mental wellness is your physical wellness. So do things like take the time to plan a healthy meal, make time for exercise, whatever it is that you enjoy doing that's physical and get your body moving, do those things, because those are not only good for your physical health, but they're very good for your mental wellness as well. And this is a big one for you guys, I know, but get enough sleep. When you sleep, that's your brain's one time to really refresh and recharge. And when you don't get enough sleep, that can really impact your physical and your mental health wellness as well. Following up on that, I know we tell you this all the time, but avoiding drugs and alcohol can be a huge, important step in maintaining both your physical and your mental wellness. It can also be a lot harder because when you leave home, particularly if you go away to college or you join the military. If you go away somewhere that you're spending a lot of time with older, I want to say kids, but they're not kids anymore. But you may be in college with a lot of kids, that people that are 21 and can legally drink. And so it's a little more difficult sometimes to make that safe and healthy and legal choice to not engage in those things. But that can make a big difference in how good you feel in your body and your mental wellness as well. If you are going away to college, think about your workload. People talk about taking a full load of classes, but you have to remember, and a lot of times people think, well, I'm only taking 4 classes and I only go to school, 2 days a week for each of those classes. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but there are a great amount of hours of independent work that goes along with every single college class. So even if you only take 4 classes, that's 12 credit hours, and that's considered full-time enrollment at college. So between 4 and 5 classes is completely full-time college enrollment, and yet you probably also have to work a little bit. You may have to take care of responsibilities at home. You may have extracurriculars. So really think about that when you're planning your college schedule. Give yourself time to rest. Give yourself time to have fun. Don't make it to where every single moment of your day is work, because that will end up being very hard on your body and also your mental wellness. Get some support if you need it. Colleges have not only counseling support, they have tutoring and academic support. Reach out, get that help that you need. And then the final tip I want to share in a little more detail is about mindfulness, and how mindfulness might be able to be an important part of your mental and physical wellness routine. So mindfulness is something I've been sharing for quite a while with my students, because I really believe it can make a big impact in the life of a lot of people. And I always like to start with this picture, because I feel like it's really helps people to see what I'm talking about when I talk about being mindful. And so if I were to ask you right now, like looking at these 2 pictures, which of those girls do you think is more calm and feels at peace in their life? And people, inevitably always say, well, it's the blonde girl on the right, because she's in the moment. She's enjoying the moment she's living right now in nature, and this other girl is thinking about a million things. And honestly, if I'll tell you the truth about myself, is most of my life I have spent more like that girl on the left. And even now, often I find myself like her, just so many things going on in my mind. And if you can relate to that, then that's pretty typical. Most of us spend a lot of our time in our minds. But with a mindfulness practice, we can learn to be, at least have big moments of our life be more like that girl on the right. So I want to share a little bit about that with you. So mindfulness really is just paying attention to this moment right now. Not judging this moment. So like if I'm feeling kind of frustrated, mindfulness is not trying to stop feeling frustrated. It's just being here and being okay with whatever is going on with me. Sometimes we talk about a formal mindfulness, which might look like, you might have heard people talk about meditation, where you're just sitting and focusing on your breath. That's a type of formal mindfulness practice. But really, there is also informal practice, which could just be something as simple as when you're brushing your teeth, just really paying attention to brushing your teeth and not planning your day out. When you're in the shower, and I know I'm guilty of this, like when I'm in the shower, my whole day is kind of like running through my head. What do I have to do? What am I going to do first? What am I going to do next? But if I'll stop and just kind of notice the water and notice how warm it is. Things like that, where we just pay attention to that very moment. It could be while you're eating. It could be while you're walking in the park. So what I'm trying to say here is that, like, a lot of times people are hesitant on mindfulness because they say, well, I don't have time to sit for an hour and meditate. And you absolutely don't have to do that. What you can do is just take things that you're already doing in your life, like walking to the car, walking in the park, eating, things you do every day, and you can do them in a more mindful way that helps you to get out of that habit of just constantly spinning with your thoughts, because that is where a lot of stress comes from, allowing our thoughts to just kind of spiral and to be going 100 miles an hour all the time. So that is one way that we can get a little bit of help with that. So you may be saying, Mrs. Sly, okay, I hear you about mindfulness, but why would I even want to do this? What's the point? It sounds like I'm doing nothing. What's the point of doing nothing? The thing I like about mindfulness, and the reason I share this with you, because I am one of those kind of people that I like to see the proof. I don't just trust that people say this is good for me. I want to read a study or read, where somebody has researched this. And there is a lot of research on mindfulness and the potential for it to provide some help for people. If you see the little list here, this is some potential benefits of mindfulness for students. You can see reduction of stress, lower levels of depression and anxiety, improved sleep. I don't know about you, but there are always those times when you're trying to go to sleep and your brain just won't shut off. And so mindfulness has been shown to be a tool that might be helpful. Other research, and this was pretty exciting to me, is to see that practicing mindfulness as little as 10 minutes a day can give positive results. So you don't have to have an hour to set aside. You can just practice a little bit every day and it might make an impact. There's no guarantees. Every individual is unique, and it may not have a positive impact for you. And if it doesn't, or if it makes you feel weird, then you don't do it. But it's definitely a tool that's worth exploring for a lot of people. So I hope that you might be interested in learning a little bit more about mindfulness. And if you are, the next slide is going to have some resources that might be helpful for you. So as you can see, there's a couple of links where you can do some reading if you like that. And then I've listed a few of the more common and popular mindfulness apps. There are tons out there. These are just ones that I happen to personally be familiar with or have had students who have used successfully. So those are a starting point for you, but there are lots out there. The main thing I will say is you don't have to pay for anything. There are lots of free apps. There are lots of free websites. So if you want to start exploring mindfulness, it's not something you're going to have to pay to do. And then I wanted to take just a few minutes to share with you a few resources that can be helpful in working on your mental wellness. Of course, you have a high school counselor. I work with students, the last name's A through D, but every one of you guys have a high school counselor that you can talk to that's happy to help you work through things. If something's getting in the way of you being successful at school, we want to help support you with that. We also have an intervention counselor on our campus that also helps our students. We have a college and career readiness specialist. So there's lots of people here to support you. And then if you do go away to college, or if you go to college here at home, there are counseling departments there. They have advising departments that help with academic issues, and then they also have counselors that work with you on personal and social issues. So that's a support for you. There are counselors in our community, and we are always happy to help you if you need a list or you need some more information about finding some support in our community. We can do that for you. And then here we've listed a couple of different resources for you that you can read through if you'd rather read, and they can provide you with some different support and tips for you. And then finally, we also want to remind you that if you are in crisis and there's nobody to reach out to, there is a national suicide prevention phone number. And then if you prefer texting, there's also a crisis text line. I just take this as a moment to say, if you're having thoughts about suicide, tell someone, tell a trusted adult. I think a lot of times you guys share with your friends, and that's okay if that's the only person you're willing to share with, but friends don't always know what to do with that to keep you safe. And so share with someone, and if you can, share with a trusted adult. If there's no one around, call the national hotline, text the national hotline, get some help for that. And guys, if your friends are struggling with thoughts about suicide, please reach out to a trusted adult. Please never hold that secret. That's really important. That is something that you need support and help with. So please let us know what we can do to help you. Please reach out if you have any of those struggles. And our final page is just a list of references. So if you have any questions about where some of the information in the presentation came from. And I just want to close by telling you that your Chisholm Trail Counseling team is here to support you. We look forward to working with you this year and helping you in your academics, but also in your mental wellness, and anything that we can do to support you, please let us know. Hope you have a great year, Rangers.